Bear come through, but they do go for the Jace priority blue side. Is that going to be Jace mid? Is it going to be Jace jungle? We do see it sometimes in the EU meta.
Gragas hover could be. I do like early Gragas picks, like you mentioned. He's such a good flex. It could really go anywhere.
Is a great pick, but if your second pick's going to be Kha'Zix, you then automatically like start to box him into a different lane, which is completely against the strategy. I really hope they don't go for the Kha'Zix as the second pick. It would be pretty silly to go for such a flexible champion to then go to play. No, we're going to put him in a box. He's either going to go mid or support. But no, they go for the Karma. Is that Karma going to be APC Karma, or is it going to be a support Karma? Another good flex pick.
Superiority really cannot venture any counter picks because of they have to have their own composition in mind. They can't play for counter pick because of how flexible those champs are. Kaisa, okay, very strong pick.
Another big pick. Another big acquisition there for Superiority. So Kaiser, we know, is a great mid lane, great ADC. We see them building Kaiser quite much as a AP champion nowadays, and it's looking like they're going to go for the Nautilus as the support, but could still be jungle. Oh no, they're locking in the Aatrox.
Was open.
Aatrox open. They go for him in the jungle, which has been a solid jungle pick, still is. Got played quite a bit yesterday as well. But my gripe with Aatrox is, especially if the game is a long overextended match, if your team managed to get a lot of true damage, a lot of anti-heal, he kind of becomes a little bit redundant in that pick. Oh, we're getting a Swain boy. We don't normally see Swain come out to play. That's interesting.
Yeah, Swain can also be flexible, but my problem is that they're all AP at this point. So they need a strong AD pick if they want to. Like Aatrox can just build like Spirit Visage and they won't be able to do anything for a while. So I really am interested to see what AD champs they pick. But for now, they're going for bans. See what they'll ban.
They are. I mean, I'm not too sure what 6 Wolves generally play, but I mean, they still have quite a few picks up. They've gone for the Nautilus ban, whether it's because they saw that their enemy team was hovering over it and mulling over that Nautilus ban is interesting for me to see there on the side of 6 Walls. We see the Varus ban come through for superiority. What a strange word and strange name for a team. But yeah, the Nautilus is a great one because we saw that yesterday those hook champions in the support lane are quite a monster of their own, especially if you're good at landing the hooking ability. And they go for another hooking champion, which is the Thresh. They clearly think that the support is going to be somewhat of a hooking champion. Is it still going to be the Blitzcranks that comes up? We could get a Pike also, but maybe they'll just completely do a 360 and go for an Alistar, because I mean, Alistar's still up for grabs.
Yeah, I think they're maybe afraid of like the tanky support hookers, but like I agree that like Blitzcrank can be a very tanky champ, but a Teemo hover. Okay, probably not Teemo. We're getting trolled for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm not discussing that pick until that's selected. If that's selected, I already want Superiority to win.
But it would be funny though.
It would be funny, but it would be also a nightmare. Complete AP team.
Oh,
yeah, I thought not. The blind man comes to play. They finally get their first AD champion as well. So Lee Sin, for those watching, has been buffed very recently in 4.3C patch. So seeing Lee Sin come out on the side of 6 Wolves is going to be interesting, especially if they can manage to synergize that ultimate from Lee Sin, kicking them into the enemy team, maybe possibly kicking them into Gragas or the likes of Swain's AoE damage ultimate. But the Galio is another great pick because we see this many a times where Aatrox goes complete ultimate mode, becomes big boy, his wings start flapping, he dives in there, and then Galio uses that heroic entrance to come in as well to do multiple knockups onto the enemy team. So that could also be quite troublesome for 6 Wolves.
Tristana hover on the last pick. I do like it because she can play a lot safer against the Lee Sin. She does have that jump out. It's not like another immobile AD carry. But it looks like it might be just Tristana mid. Or, actually, a little hard to say.
Yeah, it is a tricky one there. We could have the Kaiser in mid, because obviously in NA we've been seeing a lot of AP Kaiser in the mid lane. We could see the Tristana and the Galio down in the bot lane, going against the Jhin and the Karma. Yeah, it looks like Tristana's going to go in that. Well, possibly. No, it's going to be Tristana in the dual lane. Yep, there we go. Oh, no. Okay, so they go for the Kaiser. So obviously we poke. A little bit more range on the Kaiser. I think that's probably a better call for them. Tristana going against a Swain in the mid lane, and then Jace going against a Gragas up in the Baron lane. Very interesting. Yeah. Very interesting to see if we'll see that bullying Baron lane action going on once again in this match. So we shall await and see.
My only concern is that Six Wolves comp, their carries, Jhin, Swain, and like I guess Karma as well, they're all like kind of immobile. And the Aatrox can just run them down, besides like the Karma speed, obviously. So they have to, like, when they're playing their fights, they have to set it up really well. They have to play patient as well.
Definitely. We don't really see the Jhin come through much in competitive. There was a point in EU meta where the Jhin was a go-to pick. I think it was more so in the MENA tournament that I was covering the other time that we saw Jhin come out quite a bit. If it wasn't the Jhin, it was the Kaiser. But yeah, it's interesting to see the Karma getting rolled out here, especially with the first strike as support. We're seeing that sort of yesterday we saw Seraphine as the support champion, but going for first strike as well, with the Jhin also going for Fleetfoot work in the bot lane. And then on the side of Superiority, we're only getting one first strike also, and it's going for Jace, and I think that is probably the best out of all of them to go for. Galio going for the phase rush rather than a glacial augment. Very interesting pick there.
I personally am a phase rush enjoyer, so I always love to see phase rush on a champion. I mean, they do have a lot of range, and when he goes in, he might need to be able to get out quickly. And it also does reset his cooldowns a little bit, so I don't hate it. I kind of like it here, actually.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the Aatrox obviously as a second sort of frontliner there, so it kind of makes sense, but in me, it's either your Aftershock or your Glacial Augment, because obviously Glacial Augment, you get your damage reduction, so survivability into these team fights is going to be a little bit better when you're going onto Galio with the Glacial Augment, and then obviously Aftershock with that AP damage as you land a CC move or a knock-up is always super handy. But Gragas already taking quite a bit of damage here. Not too sure what that play was about. It was not even to get vision into the enemy jungle, so I'm not too sure why the Gragas actually overextended there into the river.
Yeah, he starts the lane with like 60% health, so that's obviously not where to start. But the plus side is that Gragas does have that sustain. He can make it work if he plays a little bit safe at the beginning of the laning phase. We do have both junglers pathing to opposite sides. Blue team, or Six Wolves will see Aatrox on the Raptors, though. Really nice ward from the red side. But they do not have any idea where Lee Sin is.
No, I mean, they've got the blue ward into the blue side here. So once Lee Sin goes over there, they'll know where he is. Obviously, they know where Aatrox is because they had that near the Raptors as well. Lee Sin looking to respond to the Galio, roaming into the mid lane, but getting caught out by the Aatrox. It's a 3v1. He has no escape. First blood for Superiority already. 1 minute, 30 seconds in.
Galio did have control of the river. He was walking up. We saw him mid, but yeah, I guess Lee Sin maybe checked that bush and thought it was safe with the first skill, but it clearly was not enough. And now they're trying to contest the blue buff from both sides, with nades rotating over as well.
Ooh.
Big root from Karma. And
Great kill.
They take down the Galio. Oh, another big root from Swain.
Overextended. Swain looking pretty overextended there as well. That is another kill for Tristana. Tristana is already up 2 kills, so pretty much 2 minutes in, she's almost 1k gold ahead of her laner up already, which is a massive for mid lane, especially if you're looking for that mid lane priority playstyle, where you completely just destroy mid lane before any of the objectives come up, or just after the objectives come up. So it kind of forces the enemy team to sort of think, right, okay, there's a bit of a push in that mid lane. Do we force somebody to go away, or do we just sacrifice a little bit of the second tier turret's health? Which is obviously not a fun position to be in if you're on the receiving end.
Right. So Gallia's looking mid again. Tristana being as fed as she is. Yeah, with Tristana being as fed as she is, if Wayne ever missed that, she can pretty much just jump on him. But it looks like she's the one getting jumped on. No, she flashes out. She burned both sums, unfortunately, for her. But
I think it's wise for her to recall back now, because obviously she's got so much gold, but she's still only sitting on one little AD item. We saw her go for the Phantom Dancer first, but now she's changed that out for the Storm Razor, which is a great pick here for the Tristana. See that Bramble Vest come through for Galio, obviously for the anti-heal of the enemy champions. But all in all, it's been a bit of a strange match. You see that Superiority are currently up 2-1. They have a very little goal lead ahead. It's basically just over a K now, so which isn't massive, especially 3 minutes in compared to some of the matches we saw yesterday, where we were 3 minutes in, 3k gold, which was just absolutely crazy when you think about it. Galio, once again, he goes back down to the bot lane. He clears the wave. He's looking for vision into the enemy jungle, and he's back into that mid lane. So we've definitely seen a much more roamer-eccentric champion, this support champion this time around. Lee Sin goes in with the first ability onto the Galio, taunting that taunt. Believe it or not, tauntception was going on in that mid lane.
Oh, the Gragas, the ultimate. Oh, the Galio ulti comes and saves him. The Jace gets bailed out.
Jace does get bailed out there. Gragas knew what was going to come there. If he was anywhere within that hero's entrance, it was going to be a big no-no for him. Ninetale would have fallen for his first blood, but Jace is already looking pretty low. He is still quite confident because they have the vision in the blue side of the enemy jungle, so they know where Lee is. So Jace could have stayed in that lane for much longer than he would normally because they had vision on the enemy jungle, which was a great play from the Galio, just constantly keeping that blue side warded up. But Rift Herald and Ocean Drake are up now. Arguably a okay first dragon there, but it looks like Superiority are going to go for that Rift Herald, maybe drop it in the mid for some more mid lane priority there.
Yeah, especially with how strong Tristana is, I think getting this Rift Herald was kind of a no-brainer. It accelerates her gold lead even more. She can go take towers elsewhere. I think it's such a good play for the side of Superiority.
Yeah. Turret not quite enough damage there. Kaiser looking to get caught out by the Lee Sin in the bot lane, and Jin gets the first kill there. So, not first kill, sorry, but he gets the kill in that bot lane. He's built Storm Razor himself also. But we do see, pardon me, Superiority managed to get the first turret from 6 wolves. So we're already seeing that mid lane priority come into fruition already 10 minutes into the match. So a lot going on. 2-2 kills. So it's even Stevens in the kills. So both teams have skin in the game. We do see, however, that 6 wolves got the Ocean Drake. Eclipse here, looking to catch out Galio with Karma coming in with the Jin. Jin still got ultimate, but manages to get the first skill onto the Kaiser, and then activates the ult, thinking that they needed it for the Galio, but Galio was wiped out. That's so fair play to 6 wolves, getting 3 easy kills there.
Solo kill from Gragas, and well played from the bot lane. They rotated mid, called the Kai'Sa, called the Galio ulting in. The Aatrox will have to cover top, but then there's no one really from mid. It's just really well played from red side. But Tristana got interesting. She builds a serrated Dirk. I don't know if I love that, especially since how powerful armor boots are. You can see how 3 members of Red Side built armor boots into, I guess, like the Aatrox and Tristana, and even early game, like Kaisa does like some amount of AD damage still, so it's like pretty good into her as well. Jace, pretty much their whole comp, at least at this stage of the game, is AD, so the armor boots will have insane value. I'll have to see if they can make use of it though in fights.
Yeah, you see kind of the reverse on the enemy on Superiority side though. They've gone for at least 3 Mercury treads, whereas the enemy team's gone for 3 plate steel caps. So it's just basically building for the enemy team. Combat is a 3v1 currently onto Ninetales, but they have, however, allowed him to escape. Karma and the Jhin come into the team fight now as well, forcing Superiority out of that Baron lane matchup. But fair play to Six Wolves for getting that 3-0 trade just a few minutes ago. That's kind of put them back into the race here. Even though they're up 3 kills, they are still behind in the gold. The gold difference is actually in favor of the enemy jungle, so Lee Sin's actually slightly, very, very slightly ahead of the Aatrox, but the main disparity in gold is definitely that mid lane between the Tristana and Swain.
Yeah, the gold difference is up for Tristana, but me personally, I don't see like Swain suffering too much from this, especially in like team fights. He's still such like an unbreakable champion in team fights. He can sustain as such like insane stats with the armor boots. And although he won't have as much damage, I think it'll be a while before, especially like 80 carries, they need like 2 or 3 items. Oh, looks like there's a fight going on mid lane though. Pick for
yep, something's a brewing. Something is a brewing. Karma manages to get that Q onto the... the Kaiser there, so forcing the Luden's Echo as well. A bit of splash damage. Galio trying his best to dodge that Lucian ult, manages successfully. So well played to Ludo Seal there. I'm not too sure what that was, but okay. We see that the dragon is up in 9 seconds.
Bragg is still topside, whereas Jace elects to join for the dragon. This could be bad for Six Wolves if... oh, looks like Jace is snagging the blue. Okay, never mind. It's 4v4 at this point. Gragas and Jace still... Jace is going to catch Gragas, though.
Yeah, I think Superiority's got to be careful here, because if we see that Six Wolves managed to get that 3 Dragon Wing condition, what we see quite a bit within EU, it could be deadly for them. It could be an upset for Superiority for not taking the Six Wolves serious enough to get these 3 dragons. But currently, we'd see Superiority going for the Drake first. Can we see Lee Sin try and steal the dragon like we saw in the last match in the series? But no, we see that Swain takes out the Kaiser. It's currently a 4v5 right now. Red team are on the way, but no, they deny the dragon from Six Wolves. So Galio nicely done getting the last hit onto the Infernal Drake. We have Aatrox on the run. Jace coming in onto the Swain, knocking him away, but here comes that pull. The Jhin ult is up. He manages to get the Jace as well. That was a bit of an upset there for Superiority, and possibly Ludo getting caught out here also.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, like, look at that Swain. He fought for like a half a minute, and he ended the fight full health. What a demon of a champion. Also, they have like a lot of, or like a decent amount of champs that have to get close. Like Kaisa, Galio, Aatrox have to get pretty close, so he can sustain off all of them. But yeah, Galio managed to secure that Drake, so win condition for Six Wolves was not realized. So I mean, that's very good for blue side of Superiority.
Definitely. I mean, the fact that Superiority is still only on 2 kills is a bit troublesome here. They need to start to focus and get some more kills on. Yes, they're still ahead of the gold, but ever so slightly. All it's going to take is another upset from Six Wolves into an engage. And then it's pretty much bye-bye gold lead and hello defeat on the way too. But they do have the lane priority with the 2 turrets. They have a dragon in the game now, so both of the teams have skin into the match. The dragons and the Baron Asher is up now, 12 minutes. But I don't think we are going to be seeing that get there.
Jhin has his 2 items. Tristana has 2.5. Carries for Superiority are like in good shape. I guess Kai'Sa is not doing that great, but in terms of gold, she's not that far behind Jhin. So I think Superiority, while they might not have that many kills, I think it won't be long before they get some.
Yeah, we see that collector being built on both the Tristana and the Jhin, so that is quite massive when it comes to trying to secure these kills as they try and run away, as they try and dodge Jin's first ability. Big kill there onto the Swain. So a lot of sustain now gone for Six Wolves. At least there won't be a team fight procced here. Jace is looking to just put some more minion priority into that bot lane. But we're currently seeing the red minions are at the second tier turret for Superiority right now, and they're holding on to that Baron lane first tier turret.
I'm looking at this Aatrox's build. Usually a lot of junglers like to go Ghostblade first so they can roam around the map. It appears that he's elected for a tankier build. Maybe so he can like be that frontline in team fights for his team. Because he does have a strong Tristana, so he doesn't get much damage. Yeah, I actually do like this now. Gragas as well, his builds. The Rod of Ages into Iceborne. Is this normal for like tank Gragas in like professional play?
When you're going into like a close combat perspective with the Gragas, I think the Frozen Gauntlet does work very well. But yeah, you kind of see the Rod of Aegis is they're looking for a little bit more AP on their team because it's them forcing the enemy team to build more Mercury treads, it seems. But yeah, you normally see like the fact like the Sunfire cape, or we see not Shimmering Spark, but anyway, we're missing out on some vital action here as I try and guess the names of these items. But we see that the Tristana has actually been wiped out here. Red is leading the way in this mid lane. Can they continue with this minion wave push, getting some kills? They're capitalizing on a 3-0 trade currently. Aatrox looking pretty low. Kai'Sa is pretty much half health, but they are forced to retreat into the Baron. I think that's a very good call for Six Wolves.
They do get that early Baron, so it's so squishy actually, so they can easily just get that and start pushing their lanes. If we look at their composition as well, the Karma poke, the Jhin poke, they don't have as much like siege potential where they can all just go mid and just hit them and poke them while they take towers. But they can have Lee Sin like hover off to the side so they can protect them from any potential engages.
Yeah, no, the Karma is probably a very good shout, especially tied in with this Jhin. The fact that they got the Swain for the sustain, and they've also got Gragas as tank Gragas as well. It then gives Karma utility to put onto the other champions. So whether it's movement speed increase to get Swain into the close combat distance, so he can sustain a lot of that damage and do a lot with that ult. Tristana is actually looking to run down that mid lane, though. She is not looking for a game over just yet, but this could be big for them getting this mid lane inhibitor, and it looks like they're going to secure it. Just Tristana and Kai'Sa alone securing the entire mid lane. That is a good callback for Superiority, but Galio and the Aatrox are looking for a 3-on-2 engage here. Lee Sin and Jhin, nicely done, actually stopping the Kai'Sa, retreating back onto her teammates. And Tristana has looked for a scenic route to get back there, but is recalling so they can get behind the turret so she doesn't die to the Swain or the likes of. But fair play to Tristana actually abusing that mid lane without any of the Baron Nashor buffs on the minions.
I think that was really impressive macro from this Tristana from Superiority, because they saw, oh wow, this is an ice dragon, and it's only the second dragon, so this really it really won't give much to the enemy team. So instead, she elects to push mid, and they get some extra protection against the Baron push from red side, from Six Wolves. But it ended up not mattering too much, as they still did lose their mid inhibitor. But either way, it was very good from Tristana.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it kind of equalized that push there. So even though the red team managed to get that inhibitor, it also means that Tristana also got their inhibitor. So both of the minions in that mid lane are going to be both. They're going to have the super minions in there as well. So it kind of equalizes that play for them, even though the odds were stacked against blue team. But I like to call out the Lee Sin and the Jhin completely cutting off that Kai'Sa back into that team fight. Because I think if Kai'Sa managed to get back onto the Galio and the Aatrox, we could have seen a bit more of an upset there for red team.
Also, like, just look at the gold of the carries. It was much more even before, but now we see how much gold Jin has. 3 items on Jin is an absolute insane power spike. Should be feared. I think, especially, like, none of them have... Like, once Jin gets LDR, this Death Stance, this Bramble Vest, this Hullbreaker won't mean, like, too much. I think Jin... I know a lot of Jin players that all say they love to hit squishies, so the engage from Lee Sin and Swain could, like, help part the way for Jin to deal with those squishies.
Definitely, definitely. The one thing I want to call out, though, is the Kaiser. We saw it yesterday as well. The Kaiser, quite an underwhelming play, the AP Kaiser in the mid lane. Obviously, it was naturally put down into the dual lane, but it's kind of not popped off. It's still 0-4. It's nothing great has gone on, or they've not really achieved much with that Kaiser. It's like 6 Wolves have... they've studied towards this Kaiser pick, and they've decided to nullify anything or the potential that they could do. But if 6 Wolves manage to get this Elder Dragon, it's going to be massive. And they do. This team fight's going to completely go in their favor now that Jin's got that ult, that status. Nicely done by Swain after doing a lot of AoE damage to the Superiority team. And they are down 3-0 trade. Kaiser pretty low. The red wave is in the middle of the lane. Could they go for the Elder Dragon? Or, I mean, not the Elder Dragon, the Baron Nashor and win? Or are they just going to commit here whilst they have the Elder Dragon? Because it is a 26-second death timer before any of their big champions come back. Lee Sin in there with the Swain, with the Jin. Nexus goes down, and 6 Wolves takes a bit of an upset there to Superiority, considering how we said that Superiority dumped 6 Wolf in the matchup.
Oh, man, well played to both teams. Unfortunately, at the end, 6 Wolves did have a lot better objective setup. They had their support out front. They were zoning the Aatrox as best as they could, and even when Aatrox flashed in, it was pretty much just done. So they did.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, but let's get Pierce's perspective on the entire match. So what do you feel went well? What went wrong for Superiority there?
I think it was kind of a bit of a snowball most of the game. I think the comp with the Lee Sin, I think the tempo was just on the red team side the whole time. I did really appreciate the play for Tristana.